Hello, folks. And another week has gone by. A lot of stuff's happened. So who we got here? Looks like I'm froze. There we are. Marie, Lynn, Sharp, Leah Coon. Okie dokie. I hope the volume's good. It should be. Looks like it's set pretty good this time. If it's not, let me know. So, Liquid Gal's here too. Yeah, wasn't really prepared this week. I had a lot of stuff happen this morning, but anyways, looks like we're good to go. Let's see, where do we start? The economy's tanking, that's for sure, and that's pretty much every Western country. The U.S. is hanging in there, I guess, somewhat so. We'll see how it goes. Right here in Canada, it is tanking, thanks to our Liberal government and their lack of wisdom and their pack of lies that all these dolts fell for the lies. Anyways, Carney's in hiding. I don't know. He says he's on holidays. I don't know if he's at the trying to think of the name of the event. It's in the Redwoods in Northern California. You probably know what I mean. So, let's see. Suggestion: stream's current bit rate higher than recommended bit rate. We recommend using a stream bit rate of 1,000. That's okay. I'm going to go with what I got. Tariffs equals money for the U.S., Lynn. Yeah, it does in the long run. You're right. I think the tariff thing, I don't know, follow exactly how it plays out in the end, but right now it's definitely the talk of the town. So there's Faye and Emma, the Perv event. That's the one, Faye. Yeah, I can't think of what it's called now. Let's see. Look, we got Carney not at the British Pride Parade. Pity. Yeah. Bohemian Grove is the place I was trying to think of. That would be a suiting place for him to go hide out. I think that's on this as we speak here. So I was told anyways. Lynn, the budget has a surplus. That must be nice. Man, the U.S., you guys got hit hard with the floods. Texas, Carolina, New Mexico. Wow. Unreal. Hopefully that's over with. Get ready for the hurricanes. Yeah. So, yeah, Carney's out playing around somewheres, and he's still sending money over to Ukraine, which we have no say in, which is garbage. He likes to give that money over that part of the world to the little dictator, the sawed-off little criminal. But anyways, we don't have any say in it. Apparently it's a one-man show. He's the king of Canada now, I guess. Maybe Charles coronated him on the sly when he was here. Who knows what's going on in this country. But yeah, he sure runs it like his own kingdom, doesn't he? You got, Lynn, you got more flooding in Texas. Wow, that's too bad. Yeah, I guess Trudeau did too. It was his way or no way, because all his ministers, they just towed the line, and these ones will too, and they're happy to, so they can get their more money from the trough, and their pensions jacked up some more and all that stuff that politicians do. So there's G&R Railroad, how you doing? The BRICS just had a big meeting. I don't know if you caught that or not. It was in Brazil. It seems Brazil is the B in BRICS. This was on the 6th of July. And the member states, they signed a joint declaration of the 17th BRICS Summit, strengthening Global South cooperation for more inclusive and sustainable governance in Rio de Janeiro. Though this one took me off guard. I just did not think that the BRICS were all bought in to the ESG. I thought it was the opposite. So somehow, anyways, it seems to have flipped, similar to the game-changing Kazan Declaration. This year's BRICS Declaration serves as a manifesto for the multipolar world order containing 126 commitments. The document reads like a Bill of Rights against the global tyranny of the collective West. I don't know if there's any global tyranny from the West, but somebody seems to think so. BRICS is committed to improving global governance, with the United Nations playing a central role in the international system. We reiterate our commitment to reforming and improving global governance by promoting a more just, equitable, agile, effective, efficient, responsive, representative, legitimate, democratic, and accountable international and multilateral system in the spirit of extensive consultation. That's a mouthful. Joint contribution and shared benefits. In this regard, we take note of the adoption of the Pact of the Future at the Summit of the Future, including its two annexes, the Global Digital Compact and the Declaration of Future Generations. The Global Digital Compact sounds sketchy. We reaffirm our commitment to multilateralism and upholding the international law, including the purposes and principles enshrined in the Charter of the UN in their entirety and interconnectedness as its indispensable cornerstone, and the central role of the UN in the international system, in which sovereign states cooperate to maintain international peace and security, advance sustainable development, ensure the promotion and protection of democracy, human rights, and fundamental freedoms for all, as well as cooperation based on solidarity, mutual respect, justice, and equality. I find that a little rich coming from the BRICS. But Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Well, China and South Africa are not real big on human rights. Brazil is not far behind them, if not side by side. India, it depends what caste you're in, I guess. Russia, don't know. Don't know about Russia. But they're not pillars of human rights, like they're kind of claiming to be here. So they're committed to implementing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. They left goals off of their Sustainable Development Goals, but that's what it is. We commend the work of the BRICS Urbanization Forum to further strengthen collaboration between government and societies at all levels in all BRICS countries in implementing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and promoting the localization of the SDGs. Something's flipped here. Something just doesn't seem right. BRICS they calls on the international community to maintain and scale up efforts to combat climate change. Isn't that a parallel universe here or something? Like this? Are they scamming us? BRICS will transition to zero or low emission transportation to help reduce its carbon footprint. Boy, I don't believe any of this. This just doesn't make sense. So they go on to say we call for a strengthened global response to climate change. Maybe they're just trying to break the other countries by getting them to go along with this climate change and break the citizens. Like Carney's doing such a great job here. By the way, they're talking about raising the GST 2%. That's a little more than their 1% on their income tax cut, which I might save $40 or $50 or something on my income tax, but the 2% increase on the GST, that's really going to get me. All of us, big time, everything we buy. So I don't know what's going on here with these guys in BRICS. First of all, can you believe Russia, China, South Africa, India, and Brazil? I wouldn't put a whole bunch of trust into what they're saying. But you see, there's a lot of stuff going down here on this. Pope Leo the 14th prays for the conversion, get this one, he prays for the conversion of climate change skeptics. He's praying for everybody that's not swallowing the climate change garbage. Celebrates newly released Mass for the Care of Creation and urged prayers for the conversion of many people who still do not recognize the urgency of caring for our common home. This guy's a nut bar. As he celebrated the newly released Mass for the Care of Creation yesterday, this is from the 11th, so it's a couple of days old. I encourage prayers for the conversion of many people, both inside and outside the church, who still not recognize the urgency of caring for our common home. Repent! Repent! That's just me. We all stand in constant need of conversion, but conversion to what? If the Holy Father meant that we should all learn greater respect for the wonders of God's creation, good Christians can quickly join in the prayers. But if he meant that all men and women should be converted to belief in the reality of man-made climate change, his appeal raises serious questions. The reality of man-made climate change. I didn't know there was such a thing. Unfortunately, there is good reason to believe that the Pope Leo was praying for conversion of the latter sort. In the same homily, he called attention to recent natural disasters and the human suffering they caused. He said that these disasters are often caused, at least in part, by human excess in our way of life. That is not a statement of faith, but an assertion of fact. It is neither accurate nor inaccurate. No, it is garbage. So you have the Pope telling us that we're bad, that we're bad people, that we're stupid because we don't believe in man-made climate change. And there's a reason, lots of reasons not to, because I have yet to see any proof of climate change. I talked to a guy at the mechanic shop the other day, and I said, when did changing weather become climate change? When did that happen? He laughed, and he said, I never thought of that way. I said, let's just go back to changing weather and forget about this climate stuff that they want us to pay for. It says in the past, natural disasters, floods and tornadoes and mudslides and hurricanes were classified as acts of God, unpredictable occurrences for which no one could be blamed. Now, If they are, at least in part, the result of human actions, then someone can be blamed, and the foremost theorists of man-made climate change are ready with a list of suspects. Got to point the finger at somebody and demand repentance and conversion and tithing. Maybe tithing to the Catholic Church would help the guy out. Maybe that's what he's after. Before we round up the usual suspects, aren't we first obliged to demonstrate that a crime has been committed? Many leading scientists are convinced that human activities are contributing to climate change. Many others are not. The question is not settled. Moreover, it's a scientific question, not a matter of faith or morals, not a matter that can be settled by an exercise of the papal magisterium. So, I think the Pope can find something else to do. If this is top on his list, it doesn't make much sense unless they're getting greased somehow. Is there some kickbacks coming there, Leo? What's going on? We don't know, do we? Now, this is, okay, I got an article right here that Pope Leo should look at. Maybe if he seen this, he could take a break from praying for us terrible people that don't believe him. The Antarctic ice sheet continues to puzzle climate scientists. It's growing, a record-breaking increase in overall mass. The Antarctic ice sheet has done something that genuinely shocked climate scientists around the world between 2021 and 2023. The Antarctic ice sheet experienced a record-breaking increase in overall mass, marking the first time in decades that Antarctica gained mass, reversing previous lost trends. This wasn't just a minor fluctuation. The ice sheet gained approximately 108 gigatons per year during that period, completely reversing what scientists had observed for the previous 2 decades. So folks, the penguins are safe. We don't have to worry about the penguins going extinct now. They got lots of ice to play on. The magnitude of this reversal is staggering when you consider the numbers from 2002 to 2010. The Antarctica experienced moderate ice loss at minus 73 plus or minus 56 gigatons per year. It nearly doubled to minus 142 plus or minus 56. That's a long, big range for 2011 to 2020. Then came the complete turnaround that has left researchers scrambling to understand what's happening. That growth was enough to temporarily offset global sea level rise by about, get this one, 0.3 millimeters per year. That's like, not like a human hair almost, during the same period. East Antarctica's surprising contribution to ice growth, record-breaking ice mass gain, defies decades of loss. So it was East Antarctica that happened. And yeah, it's massive. Like, they're talking it losing 73 gigatons, but it gained 108. So, yeah. She's cooling off down south of the equator, way south of the equator. Well, Pope missed out on that. He didn't see that. Maybe conveniently, or maybe he's just not paying attention. Maybe he's just getting greased, like I say. Filling the coffers of the Vatican and the bishops. What else did we have here? We had bees are losing their buzz. Okay. Climate change reduces frequency and pitch of wing vibrations, the researchers warn. There's nothing quite like the gentle buzz of a bumblebee to let you know summer's approaching, but the distinct hum could soon become a rarity, as climate change is reducing the frequency and pitch of wing vibrations, according to scientists. I've only seen one bumblebee this year, and it was today, and it was crawling on the ground. It couldn't even fly. And I don't think it's climate change. I think it's something that they're doing to maybe try to change the climate. Experts warn this could have consequences for the effectiveness of bee communication and their role as pollinators. And it could be bad news for the nation's tomatoes, blueberries, and honeysuckle plants. Yeah, I won't even get into my garden, the mess it is. Dino, don't say the C word, Fred. Corny. I know. I can't stand him either. Some days I almost wish Trudeau was there, but not for very long. That thought just is a fleeting thought. Don't worry. I don't want either one of them in there. So anyways, the bees are losing their buzz. I'd throw that out there. This is just on the Climate Depot site. Mark Morano. Blackouts underscore global power crisis. I see there's a warning now that they figure the U.S. might be heading towards some blackouts. Elon Musk imported a power plant. He bought one, and he's importing it into the United States. He couldn't get through all the red tape, I guess, and he's going to need a lot of power, electrical power, so the grid won't be able to supply it, so he just bought a power plant somewhere, and they're setting it up in the U.S. somewhere, wherever it is. So, anyways, man's got the money. What else happened here? These people coming up with everything. ABC News, climate change is making it harder for us to sleep, contributing to an increase in cases of sleep apnea. I just can't sleep. The climate's changing. I just can't sleep. This is ridiculous. Totally. Meteorologist Chris Martz, yes, weather modification is done in Texas, but cloud seeding had nothing to do with the flooding in Texas. See, Glenn Beck had the guy on there from the cloud seeding outfit in Texas, and he said, well, like you said, you got to have the clouds to seed, but anyways, I won't go into that. So, Al Gore, oh, good old Al Gore speaking up, links Texas flooding to climate change. We must examine the policy and communications failures that left so many at heightened risk when the climate-fueled extreme weather is rapidly getting worse. Come on, Al, say it. Everybody's going to be underwater by next year. Climate change, that means whatever the left wants it to mean, right? So, yeah. This climate change, it changes with the left's whims every day. It seems. When they get debunked on something, then they come up with some other harebrained idea. But the economy, folks, is a big thing. I mean, sure, they're going to try to take us down with the climate hysteria. They tried to take us down with another hysteria back around 2020, 2021. Didn't quite work out as planned, fortunately, for the human race. They're working on us with the climate cult. Basically stealing our money is what they're doing. So they're going to break us financially. Not emotionally or spiritually. It's going to be rough riding, but they're trying to clean us out, clean our bank accounts out. Because you know what? You know the plan, right? will the U.S. dollar collapse? There's an analysis here for 2025. It says it's unlikely the U.S. dollar will collapse. However, J.P. Morgan Research reports a 40% chance the U.S. will be in recession by the end of 2025. So it's still important to understand what would lead to collapse and how to prepare for it. I'm afraid the Canadian dollar is going to collapse first. A dollar collapse means the value of the U.S. dollar plunges. The result would be significant economic instability, increased prices of goods, and heightened anxiety among the American people. J.P. Morgan, I think, is left-leaning media. I think they are. I can almost throw a little bet on that. The U.S. dollar refers to a scenario, the collapse in which the value of the U.S. dollar plunges relative to other currencies. It ain't going to drop below the Canadian dollar, I know that. We're at 73 cents right now. This devaluation can lead to severe inflation, making everyday goods and services far more expensive for American consumers. Factors such as a loss of confidence in the U.S. economy, rising national debt, or significant geopolitical shifts that cause other countries to abandon the dollar as a global reserve currency could all trigger a collapse. Well, that goes back to the BRICS, doesn't it? Right? And BRICS trying to run on the gold standard to get away from the U.S. dollar. There's quite a few countries involved with that now. That's why Trump is pushing so hard. He's fighting to keep that dollar stabilized and keeping it as the world's currency or global reserve currency. So it's a battle. Right now, there's a lot of pushback. So, and it says that some countries might not even accept a considerably weaker dollar, but what are they going to turn to? They're not going to turn to the euro or the Canadian dollar or the yuan, the Chinese yuan. In some, this scenario, albeit unlikely, would negatively affect Americans' everyday lives. Necessities would become unaffordable. Many people could see their savings considerably devalued, would trigger anxiety and worry across America as people tried to grapple with managing their personal finances. So I would just change that out from the US dollar to the Canadian dollar, because okay, I won't say the C word. So Mark is doing his best to trash the Canadian economy. Why would he do that? Remember last week, anybody that's on here, last week I mentioned that Carney's wife. Fox Carney, what's her first name? Anyways, it don't really matter. Don't have much use for her. Carney's wife is the niece of Frances Fox Piven of the Cloward and Piven strategy. Cloward, she was married to Cloward. Liquid gal, Diane Fox, thank you. So Frances Fox Piven was married to Cloward. I don't know Cloward's first name right off, but the Cloward Piven strategy. Says this one here is from Act for Canada. I've been subscribed to them for quite a while. It looks like I'm unsubscribed for some reason. Anyways, how the Cloward-Piven strategy has been applied to Canada. The plan is referred to as the Cloward-Piven strategy. The man they have chosen to complete this agenda is Mark Carney. What is unfolding in Canada is not politics, it's not reform, it's a hostile takeover by global forces using one of the most sophisticated and destructive plans ever devised to collapse a free society from within. They tried it in the US in 1966 and it didn't work out too good for them. So they're trying it here. The plan is referred to as the Cloward-Piven strategy. The man they have chosen to complete this agenda is Mark Carney. Mark Carney was not elected, he was selected. His loyalty is not to the Canadian people, it's to the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, the Bank for International Settlements, and other unelected global institutions that aim to erase national sovereignty and individual freedom. And the 103 companies that Carney has shares and stocks in are all on the same game plan, and he's going to be making use of them so he can make more money. Cloward-Piven strategy and definition. The strategy aims to utilize militant anti-poverty groups to facilitate a political crisis by overloading the welfare system via an increase in welfare claims, forcing the creation of a system of guaranteed minimum income and redistributing income through the federal government. Well, it's not hard to get everybody on welfare when everybody's broke, right? Just jack the taxes up a bit. Pretty soon, people can't afford to go to work. It costs money to go to work. You have to have a vehicle. You have to pay for fuel. You have to pay for maintenance, repairs. I know, I did it my whole life. Now, comes a point, it's like, I'm losing money going to work. I'm actually losing money. Well, then you can't afford to go to work because it doesn't pay enough. It doesn't pay enough because they brought in enough people that'll work for less. Right? In 1966, Columbia University professors, there it is, Richard Cloward and Francis Fox Piven, developed an 8-point strategy to collapse a free nation from within intentionally. Their idea was to overwhelm the system through massive economic and social destabilization so that citizens would beg for authoritarian control in exchange for survival. This strategy has now been adapted and weaponized by global financial elites and is being applied to Canada right now. Elbows up, you clowns out there. All these people that believe the lies. That they're paying attention. They know what's going on. They know that he's the man that's going to stand up to that evil Trump and he's going to look after us all. And right. If you've never heard of the Cloward-Piven strategy, what's going on here? Notifications popping up. If you've never heard of the Cloward-Piven strategy, it does not matter. It is already being implemented for you. You are not imagining the chaos. It is designed to demoralize you, to confuse you, and to make you submit. Mark Carney is the chosen executor. There's 8 points here of the Cloward-Piven strategy, along with concrete actions Carney has taken to implement each one. Number 1, overload and bankrupt the welfare system. In 2020, during the C-19 lockdowns, Carney publicly supported massive government stimulus spending, including the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, or CERB, which he gave more than 8 million Canadians free money with no strings attached. This program cost over 81 billion Canadian dollars. In July 2020, Carney's speech to the London School of Economics called these types of stimulus packages essential tools for transition and praised the role of public finance in accelerating the shift to stakeholder capitalism. Essential tools for transition. Yeah. The Canadian C-19 lockdowns were not about public health. Everyone They were all about creating permanent dependency. The more individuals rely on government support, the more control the government has. Canada's debt has now reached more than $1.5 trillion. The system is being driven toward bankruptcy by design. Raise the cost of living until survival becomes the only focus. Yeah, the cost of living seems to be going up, doesn't it? Like, steadily going up. In February 2021, Carney co-authored a report for the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero. GFANZ, yeah, he co-authored that. Yeah, he's right on top of things, isn't he? Where he pushed for removing capital from carbon-based industries and redirecting it into climate-compliant investments. Maybe Brookfield Management would be getting a slice of that, eh? The direct outcome of this has been a reduction in oil and gas supply, spiking prices across the board. In July of 2022, Carney's climate agenda began affecting Canadian energy producers when major banks stopped issuing loans to oil and gas firms unless they complied with net zero targets. That put the brakes on things, didn't it? With fuel prices soaring, Canadians now face historic inflation. Food banks across the country report record demand. In Canada, the cost of groceries has increased from March 2020 to March 2025, approximately 30.2% in total. Carney knows these policies crush the middle class. That is the point. When individuals struggle to feed their families or fill their gas tanks, they stop resisting. And like I say, when it costs too much to go to work, you might as well just stay home and take what the government's going to hand out, which is not very much. Number 3, defund and destabilize law enforcement. This was going on in the U.S. under Biden, too. On June 8, 2020, just days after the death of George Floyd, a national hero down there for some people, but a criminal and a not a nice person. Carney wrote an op-ed in the Globe and Mail endorsing social movements that call for defunding police. In that article, he promoted the idea that institutions need to be reformed to serve social justice rather than law and order. His exact words were that the economy must become more inclusive and must reflect new social priorities. There's a chosen few out there that the law doesn't touch. It's hands off, right? Yeah, just don't touch those ones there. No, let's get rid of, go after those pesky Canadians. In Canada, this narrative led to police budget reductions in major cities, including Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. The result has been a significant rise in violent crime, carjackings, and open drug use. As cities become less safe, public demand increases for technological surveillance, biometric security. There you go. Facial recognition. They don't say that, but that's what it is. And government monitoring. Carney has supported the digital ID infrastructure that will replace traditional policing with algorithmic control. My cousin was at a wedding yesterday, and there was a woman came to the wedding. She was from Toronto, and she commutes in Toronto on the subway, and she said she's getting more and more nervous all the time. She doesn't want to get on it. The drug use on it, the violence, the homeless, and the homeless are getting violent, and there's more guns, handguns out there around that is just not safe. She doesn't want to go near it. That's liberal Canada. That's democratic United States. Not democratic, Democrat, sorry. They're far from democratic. I always wondered why they do that. As far as I know, it's a Democrat Party. Somehow they slip in Democratic. Anyways, number 4, control education to indoctrinate the next generation. Oh, yeah, that's a big one. And that's been happening, hasn't it? Especially with Trudy. In October 2020, Carney became head of the Brookfield ESG Advisory Group, which has since partnered with the United Nations to fund youth education programs across North America. Let's get those funny books and those funny dressed guys, the guys in the dresses and the bikinis in there, and with the little kids in the libraries, and read them, bounce them on their knee and read them stories, while the parents sit there like good government brainwashed losers while their kids are being groped, and they stand there and sit there and watch it and clap. It's disgusting. These programs are designed to train children and university students to accept climate compliance, equity mandates, and global governance as normal. Trust the government. The climate's going to kill you unless you do what we tell you. And everybody's equal, except some are more equal than others. In March 2023, the University of Toronto received millions in funding tied to a Brookfield-backed ESG curriculum. These classes redefined economic freedom as dangerous and promote submission to centralized digital control. The youth of Canada are no longer being educated, they are being conditioned. Number 5. This is a good one. Eliminate private property through regulation, taxation, and debt traps. Carney supports net zero home compliance. Yeah, this is a beauty. In April 2023, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation proposed mandatory energy audits for homes before sale. Before you can sell your house, you have to have an energy audit done on it. And they're going to tell you there's a lot of, you got a lot of stuff here you got to do before you can sell this place. This policy was developed in part by the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, which Carney chairs. Imagine that. These audits will be used to justify carbon taxes on homeowners, making it impossible for many families to sell or afford upgrades. At the same time, interest rate hikes driven by central banks have doubled mortgage payments since early 2022. Carney supports these hikes as necessary to curb inflation. The result is mass foreclosure. This is not mismanagement, this is extraction. And Tiff Macklem is not going to drop the interest rate, apparently. Tiff. Do you know what his name is? Do you know what Tiff's first name is? His official name is Tiffany. Tiffany. Who would name their little baby boy Tiffany? I bet he got a lot of wedgies in school when he was in primaries. Yeah, I can just see him walking around now with his underwear pulled up to his armpits. Promote division through identity politics. Carney has repeatedly made public statements aligning with social justice narratives. In May of 2021, he gave a speech at the Public Policy Forum where he called for economic systems that serve racial justice, climate justice, and gender equity. These are not neutral goals. These are designed to divide individuals and pit them against one another based on race, gender, and ideology. While Canadians fight over perceived slights and identity labels, the real theft is happening quietly. Carney's controllers benefit from the chaos. Sure, out of chaos comes cash. The more fractured society becomes, the easier it is to dominate. Number 7, undermine faith and family to replace them with state loyalty. How many churches have been burned now? No investigations. No, can't look at them. During the C-19 insanity, they were shutting down churches and arresting pastors, but they didn't seem to go near the mosques for some reason. the mosques or the temples or the whatever the Jewish ones are. Anyways, undermine faith and family to replace them with state loyalty. In 2019, Carney spoke at the Vatican in support of the Council for Inclusive Capitalism. That was at the Vatican. Council for Inclusive Capitalism. Well, Leo's right on this. He wants to make some money off this climate change scam. This was a group designed to unite global corporations, financial institutions, and the Catholic Church under a single moral economic framework. The message was clear. Loyalty must shift from traditional institutions to a centralized system where moral authority is dictated by economic compliance. At the same time, Canadian government programs now incentivize children to bypass parental consent on gender decisions. The arm tag there and personal health records, Carney supports these policies. They remove the parent and insert the state. It's starting to sound like fascism at first, but it looks like it's morphing from fascism into Marx Carneyism, or just Marxism. Number 8, create permanent dependence on the state through programmable money. What a wonderful idea. Carney is one of the most vocal international advocates for central bank digital currencies. Remember the Bank of Canada made a CBDC, a government digital currency, and they were going to do it for a test run. I don't think they got around to testing it. They just kind of have it sitting there, right? Just in case, well, hey, maybe they don't have a need for it someday, right? December 2019 speech at the Bank for International Settlements, Carney said that the future of money will be programmable and trackable and must support sustainable development. You will obey. In October 2023, the Bank of Canada, here we go, began pilot testing a central bank digital currency. Carney is advising that effort. Once implemented, this programmable currency will allow the government to, freeze accounts, limit purchases, control every financial transaction. There will be no cash, no privacy, and no freedom. This is the full Cloward Piven strategy. These are not theories, these are documented facts, and Mark Carney was placed into the Canadian federal election to finish the job. So, I think a lot of us were saying at the time that, no, he was dropped in there. And as a matter of fact, I seen another short video on that. But, okay, so exactly Canadian National. And who sold it off? Who sold the gold off? Mark Carney, when he was governor of Bank of Canada, finished us off. Trudeau sold the last few ounces that were left in the vault, probably stuffed a couple in his pocket on the way out. So, can we go back to gold as a currency? How would that work? Through Global or Google Gemini here, it says, while gold and silver are not widely used as direct replacements for cash in everyday transactions, they can be used as a form of currency or a payment method in certain contexts. They can be converted to cash quickly, and some businesses and individuals are exploring their use as a hedge against inflation or a way to diversify payment options. There's a detailed explanation here. Limited but existing use. Some gold and silver coins, particularly those issued by governments, are technically still considered legal tender, but their value as collectibles or precious metals often far exceeds their face value. Some businesses are beginning to accept gold or silver as payment, particularly for high-value items, as a way to avoid credit card fees or as a hedge against inflation. There are also digital currencies backed by gold, which can be used for online transactions. The advantages of gold and silver. Gold and silver have historically been used as a store of value, maintaining the purchasing power over long periods, unlike fiat currencies. They can act as a hedge against inflation as their value tends to increase during inflationary periods. Using gold and silver as a payment option can diversify payment methods, potentially providing more resilience during economic instability. Accepting gold and silver payments can reduce reliance on banks and credit card companies. That's for businesses or personal transactions too, I guess. Challenges: while gold and silver markets are relatively liquid, they are still less liquid than cash, and prices can fluctuate. The price of gold and silver can fluctuate, making it difficult to set a stable exchange rate. You'd have to go on the market and find up-to-date value of the gold and silver for the transaction, I would think. Widespread acceptance of gold and silver as currency is limited, requiring businesses and individuals to actively participate in these markets. Buying and selling gold and silver can involve transaction fees and commissions, which can make it less cost-effective than using cash. Yeah, there's the end that the brokers put on it there, so there is transaction fees for sure. Valuation. Determining the value of gold and silver for transactions can be complex and require specialized knowledge, or a smartphone would do it. Historically, gold and silver have been used as currency for centuries. The gold standard, where currency was backed by gold, was prevalent in many countries before the 20th century. In conclusion, while gold and silver are not typically used as direct substitutes for cash in everyday transactions, they can be used as a form of currency or payment method in specific circumstances. Their use is likely to remain limited due to their volatility, liquidity challenges, and the need for wider acceptance. That being said, it's better to have it and deal with any of the issues later than to not have it. So, right now, as we speak, I'm just going to check the market. Gold is 3,300, just over 3,300 US. It's just over 4,600 Canadian per ounce. It's up. It's up almost $20 Canadian. Silver is 38 and change US, and it's 52.57 Canadian. So that's fairly high for silver, fairly high for gold too. And even the crypto markets are up. So everything's up but the dollar. So that tells me that there's not a lot of faith in the Canadian dollar. So, liquid gal. When I was 17, everybody was buying cheap liquor and pot and partying, but not me. I was buying silver. It was $7 an ounce. Good times. Unfortunately, I cashed in years later to buy a car. Yeah, I think I started stacking a bit of silver. I think it was around $16 an ounce, I think, which was high. But anyways, now it's 50. So, yeah. So there's something going on. When the metals are going up that high, and not only that, okay, Russia, China, India, we're buying up tons of gold. Now they're buying tons of silver. That says a lot. And remember, silver is consumed, gold isn't. Well, a very small bit of gold is consumed, but it can be reclaimed. But silver is used in jet engines and missiles and a lot of military stuff, and it's just blown up or burned up. So, yeah. So, yeah, I was what else was there on here? And I don't think much. But all the banks, everybody's into this now. So, 1967 quarters, dimes, dollars were silver. It would have been easy to hoard it. It's funny. I had a 1966 quarter given to me at Dollarama in change. I noticed the East Indian guy working there, he looks at all the coin before he gives it to me to make sure there's nothing silver in there is what he's doing. But this wasn't. This was just a native, natural-born Canadian that was working there, and she just reaches in and gives me the change. She doesn't know what silver looks like, apparently. I can't blame her. She's fairly young, so they wouldn't know or think or anything of it. But right now, 80% silver, scrap metal, scrap coins rather, scrap silver, 80% Canadian, 66 and before are $25 for a dollar. $1 in coins. The old coins were $25. It's a big markup, folks. And so you look at it's around $6, maybe a little more for a quarter, right? From 66 and before. They've really gone up a lot. 67, 68 is 50% silver. Marie. If you see 67 with the cougar on it, bobcat, whatever it is, it's only 50%. 66 and before is 80. American, the old silver coins are 90% silver. So, yeah. And the brokers still sell them. You can buy them by the dollar. So, $10 of junk silver Canadian would be $250. That's got their markup included in that price. So, I've got a half-ounce shekel, Emma. Silver shekel. Liquid gal. Yeah, lots of rolling. $100 in pennies, I guess. 50 cents a roll. Yeah. So anyways, fiat currency here is just going to end because they're going to bring in the CBDCs. They've already said it. Our Bank of Canada, Central Bank, has all in on it. Carney's all in on it, of course. I think we're the test country. They've tried it in a few places. They tried it in Nigeria, and people were they were trading their digital currencies for the old Nigerian currency on the black market because they couldn't, because it was being monitored and controlled, right? So they had to, they'd take a loss, of course, a beating on it, probably a big beating on it, but then they could at least buy what they wanted to buy. That's not a good way to be. It's not a good situation. And then they ended up canceling the CBDCs in Nigeria. And there's, I don't know what other countries, I think there's other maybe one other, maybe a handful, I don't know, they've tried it, and I don't think it's working for them, but that wouldn't stop this clown show we've got, this Carneyville. Faye, you gotta have to get the crucifix tested to see if it's gold. It weighs over an ounce. Wow. You can take it to a broker and they can tell you right off what it is and what quality, what, you know, what percentage. Emma, a friend is living in a tent with her adult sons. Migrants don't have to worry about such things. No, no, they don't. There's an issue here in this province with the, itchy nose, with the premier wanting to bring in more immigrants, asking Ottawa. Ottawa happily accepted the request. Yes, we'll get right on that. Little Susie Holt will get them there for you right away. For jobs, for construction jobs. I think I've gone over this before. It's just a little pet peeve with me. There's no Canadians out of work right now, that would work construction, maybe even labor, you know, just doing job site cleanup and stuff like that, you know. So, nope, can't find any. No, we gotta go the other side of the planet, fly them in, give them a hotel room and some money and say, here's a job, and they'll go out and stand there and lean on a broom probably till the end of the shift and then go back to the wherever their paid accommodations are. That's what we're up against. They don't like us. They don't like us. They think that we're the problem. And in a way we are the problem because we know what they're up to. And it's nothing good. So they got their brainwashed followers, the government, that happily voted to their own demise, but they're taking us down with them. Full. Some days I just shake my head when I go out. You know. But grin and bear it and hang in there. And bartering is something that people bring up. And bartering, well, that's a tough go, you know. You got to have something that somebody wants, and they have to have something that you want. And then you got to be able to come to an agreement. So that's sketchy. You might get lucky. You might get lucky. I mean, there could be places when times get really bad, if the dollar crashes, there could be places set up like a, kind of like a flea market type of thing maybe, where people would go with their benches and people could come and or their tables rather, and people could come and barter with them. That might happen, something like that. So, Marie, 10-story building to be built in nearby town. Mayor's a real estate agent. No conflict of interest there, eh? 1,300 units, average 3 per unit, 4,000 extra people. Suddenly, Emma, time for church. See you guys. See you, Emma. Thanks for dropping by. Good to see you here. You hear, it's Canadian National, here women in Montreal and Toronto are starting to complain about male newcomers hanging around public pools and harassing women and children. I seen that. Yeah, something about that. I never looked into it, but yeah. Yeah. What they think was going to happen, no kidding. Well, remember back when the Syrians were being brought in, the same thing. There was, I think it was Rebel News did an article on some guy that was at the pool, some Syrian leering at the little girls. It's a different mindset, it's a different bunch. different faith. And just remember that special faith, those special people, they look at us like we are the undesirables. You know, take one group on Saturday, and the other group on Sunday, right? While they do their social gatherings on Friday. So that's what we're up against. I tried to tell people that, and they said, "Oh, you're racist. You're racist. It's racist." So, well, I didn't know I was racist. Actually, I didn't even know it was a race. I thought it was a faith, not a race. Isn't it? People don't know. They can't tell the difference. No. You don't have to be a certain skin tone to be a member of that faith. You might not have front row seat, but they'd happily let you in until your time came, and then they'd deal with you then. So they're not the friendliest bunch. If they had built a 4-story apartments here in South Lancaster, it's a hamlet. Shake my head. When some illegals don't know that in some countries rape is illegal. Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. And they still don't know because they don't get charged here. So it's a hands off. So I guess it is kind of legal here in a way for certain for these ones. Yeah. There's it's a mess. It's a mess. Trump is cleaning things up. I was out at the mechanic, the other thing, I was talking to this guy, and he said, somebody's got to get rid of that Trump guy. I looked at him, I kind of smiled. I said, well, I don't know why Trump bothers you. It doesn't bother me. I'm really not concerned about the United States president. He doesn't bother me personally. I'm concerned about the prime minister that's in there, that gets set up. That's what affects me. That's what concerns me. Because I'm a Canadian. I'm not an American. I live in Canada. And he said, well, yeah, I guess, eh? Yeah. He knew we got an issue in Ottawa, but for some reason, these people want to jump on Trump. And I always tell them, look, I think it's Canada that should be a big concern. Those that are got a couple of neurons firing will usually say, yeah, that's a good point. The ones that are completely brain dead will say, it don't matter. It don't matter. I just don't like them. Why? I just don't like them. Well, okay, that's live your life that way. So, 1 year today of Trump attempted assassination. Hey, Lynn, I heard something in I'm trying to think, Butler, Pennsylvania, that there was another president that was shot at there in the past. Did you hear that? Did you ever hear that? I found it interesting. And I'm trying to think, well, what president would that have been? This is where it gets freaky. It was George Washington. Was in Butler, Pennsylvania, and somebody took a shot at him, missed him. The founding father of the United States. And then Trump, they tried to take him out in Butler. Twilight Zone stuff. You did hear that. Can't remember who. Yeah, it was George Washington. The founding father. Yeah, think about that one. I don't know where I heard that. Might have been Glenn Beck. I'm not sure. I watch Glenn Beck quite a bit. He's got some good stuff on there. So, him and Stu. What else has been going on here this last week? Who the heck was it? There's a heat wave in Toronto. Major heat wave. It's going to go up to 31 degrees or something, and it's climate change. Well, I don't know. It wasn't climate change before the Liberal government went in 2015. It was a hot summer day. So, Betty Power, how are you? Fred Trump has gone neocon. He listens too much Lindsey Graham. I got to agree with you there. Lindsey Graham should not be in there at all. And I don't know why Trump pays any attention to him. But for some reason, he gave him the so toasty here in Cornwall. I was just looking at your comment there, Faye. Refugees from the northern part of one of the provinces on fire. Natives. Yeah, Lindsey Graham, Rhino, big time. Why? I don't have no idea why he's still involved there. Liquid gas, not climate change, climate hoax. It's summer, for God's sake. We're supposed to have hot summers. That's right. CN, you had one warm day. It was still only 28 degrees, back down to 25 the next day. Yeah, we're up and down here, but it's not. Marie Lindsay was a traitor when Jan 6 happened. You bet he was. Yeah. Yeah, him, Mike Pence. There's a few of them. What state is it South Carolina that Lindsey Graham is in? Lindsey usually votes the way Trump wants. Okay. Is it South Carolina? Is that the state that he's representative? I forget. So, U.S. right now is, well, you guys be heading, let's see, it's July. You got your, it was 24, 25, it's 26 is the primaries, I guess, eh? Yeah, South Carolina. That's what I thought it was, South Carolina, yeah. Tucker Carlson is the new leader of MAGA. I don't know. Said Iran made new threats against Trump. Don't know how many details of it. Well, you know, they're not the smartest bunch, those Ayatollahs, by all means. They're thinking like it's still 700 AD or so. They just haven't got with it. They put it this way: they haven't advanced much in their way of thinking. I think China, I heard, was giving them a lot of military equipment, and also helping them to expedite the atomic thing there. So that's not good, by all means. Russia's busy, but China seems to be filling the void there. So, Randy Doan. How you doing, Randy? Yeah. So China's involved with Iran. Russia's busy there with Ukraine. I almost think that Russia's just going to go in and just trash the whole place. I think they've had enough. So, Faye, 26, but friggin' muggy, love it. Winter will be here soon enough. That's the thing, eh? People complain about the heat. Well, you just wait. Well, summer's half over almost pretty much now here, so we got August and a little bit of September. And then it's going to be cold. And shortly thereafter, people will be complaining about the cold, and they're going to say, what's it's climate change? Yeah, climate changes every season. Man, I'm tired of that. I rant on it all the time, but it's just annoying what they're pulling off, and the people that are that foolish to believe it. But the main man, Mark Morano, he knows. He's the expert. This climate change influencer, once chums with Greta Thunberg, now calls the movement a scam. Really? Lucy Biggers built a sizable following as a sustainability influencer, and like many young people, she was racked with guilt and anxiety over climate change. She now hopes to reach people with a message that fossil fuels are a net positive. A decade ago, she was like many people in their 20s, believed that climate change posed an immediate and catastrophic risk to mankind, that we should rapidly eliminate fossil fuels to address the problem. Mankind. Remember Trudeau saying, we like to say people kind. What a dolt. Renewables are up to that task, and that our wealthy, privileged lives in the West are a mark of shame. That's what she used to believe. She worked for a climate outlet, Now This Entertainment is the outfit, where she helped make videos, some of which garnered millions of views promoting these ideas. She interviewed Swedish celebrity climate activist Greta Thunberg and helped New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez get elected in 2018. She regrets that. She built up a sizable following as a sustainability influencer. But over time, she began to question her leftist ideals. That's when those neurons kicked in. They started firing on both cylinders. She started to see the climate movement as anti-human and ultimately harmful. She now calls the climate movement a scam. And she's making videos on TikTok and elsewhere in hopes that young people will consider a more positive view of modern life, one they can hopefully be grateful for. In turn, they can escape the anxiety she says the climate movement causes young people to feel. You know, every time I go into a store and I come out with a handful of stuff, trying to get to the truck, because I'm not going to buy one of their reusable bags because I never think to bring it with me. And to add insult to injury, I saved a bunch of those banned grocery bags when I knew that it was coming up, and I folded them all up and put them all in a box. And I'll go into the store. If it's Sobeys, I'll take a Sobeys bag in. And when I get to cash, I'll reach in my pocket. She'll say, would you like a bag, a paper bag, or would you like a reusable one? And I say, I got a reusable one. I bring out the big old plastic Sobeys bag and I put the stuff in there. I see people looking at me and thinking, where the hell did you get that? And I got the Dollarama bags. I got the Superstore bags. And I use them at their stores. Just to say, there. I am non-compliant. I will not comply. I got my own stuff. Yeah, paper bag. We got rid of the paper bags because the bottoms come out and you dump all your stuff on the ground. Then you got to pick it all up, middle of the street or the lane where the vehicles are going. Oh yeah. Not playing that game. There's Lawrence. How you doing? So, yeah, the people, they're just easily manipulated, right? And the governments love it. They love it. They're thinking, they're believing this crap. Unreal. But the media. So I told a guy today, I said, it's the media. They're to blame. They're the ones pushing all this stuff. If they shut up, this would just, it wouldn't go anywheres. So, but they don't. They sit there and they, that's the other thing I told the guy at the mechanics. I said, the problem is people watch too much television. He looked at me, I said, television. It's just called television. I said, but what's even worse? It's called programming. And he just big smile ear to ear, and he said, I never even thought of that. I said, yeah, it's called programming for a reason. That's why you stay away from it. So, right? You just got to tune these people in, make them think for a minute. Like, yeah, you're being programmed. Stay away from it. That's right, Lawrence. Television. Randy, Canadian values are extremist now. Yeah, it's even hard to promote or say anything about Canadian values because, yeah, you're an extremist. You know, how dare you talk like that? Yeah. Look, hey, the government's doing a really good job here. A really good job dividing people into groups, pitting those groups against each other. They're bang on with that. No problem. They're not doing anything to help us. They're just splitting us up. So, and we're at the bottom of the list, the Canadians. And people with Canadian values. There's something in the air out there about now, about promoting Canadian values to new immigrants. I see Pierre says that he wants negative immigration. So, Canadian national, the Korean guy, IQ 240 or something. Twitter said he believes in Jesus because it's a logical conclusion. Yeah, well, there you go. Laik and RCMP are down on traditional values, yeah. Well, they don't, yeah. I've seen that clip of that woman on there, Airhead. Marie, yeah, it's dividing us. My only friend on the left has TDS. I know, it is. It's gross. I just want to try something here while I'm on here. See if I can find it. I think I got it here. I'll bring it up.
Having a rough day? yourself acting irrationally? Do you get mistaken as a hyena when you laugh? Or do word salads occur frequently?
I'll bring this up for you. Hang on. Bear with me. I'm messing around again. That's my, I don't know if that came up or not. If you caught it, that was my tribute to Trump. I wasn't set up for that, so. And everything is lags a bit on my monitors. So. Don't know if that worked or not. Carney at WF party. Could be in Northern California. Bohemian Grove, yeah. Epstein list brings it all down. That's been kind of held off. So maybe my Trump and all video didn't make it up. Betty Bongino and Patel want to resign over that. Yeah, I see there's some friction there. Hey, a guy that bought my house 35 years, tore up all the lawn, took out my cedars that were 30 feet tall, going to be put in 2 small houses of 500 square feet. That's what they're doing here. They're allowing up to 4 houses on one lot of these little small houses. So, yeah, it is chaos, and chaos is cash, right? So as long as they keep everybody upset, everybody split up into groups and fighting with each other and protesting, and some people can protest people, some people can protest, some people can't protest. Canadians that don't agree with the government aren't allowed to protest, but new people that want to protest other countries are allowed to protest. It's all backwards, upside down. That's the way they want it. Trump won't want the list out because they can use the list for blackmailing. Epstein victims took payout. The truth of Epstein must be horrible stuff. All on the list. My son and his kids have a gravel driveway for now. Marie Miracle-Gro on the squash, promising. My squash are only 1.5 inches tall, the plant, so I don't really think nothing's going to happen there. So, Canadian National, like really bad stuff. Really bad stuff. There's a whole bunch of people. I had a video, and I emailed that link out to a lot of you folks. That was a while back. And it was pretty horrific. It was showing the black masses and all that stuff, and with the kids and actual footage. And man, that was taken down almost immediately. And I don't have, I never saved it. I should have recorded that. But anyways, it did get around, but it was nasty stuff. A lot of Hollywood people involved. So, Trump told Musk that Trump was on the list. Elon had a mental breakdown. Something's changed with him, that's for sure. So, yeah, it's, I always suspected Trudeau being on there. Possibly Carney. I mean, Carney, out with, and his wife with Ghislaine Maxwell. And I'm sure Epstein just wasn't in the picture. He was somewhere there. So, yeah, I would think Carney and Trudeau. Trudeau's wife bailed out on him. Not that she wasn't trashy anyways, but just the same, maybe she discovered stuff. Trudeau likes hanging out with the underage girls. And, you know, Carney, he's got a TG daughter there that doesn't know what she is. So he's all in on that. So, yeah, there's a lot of skepticism on that list. One was maybe there was some deals signed because he wanted to get the big beautiful bill passed. It's hard to say. Who knows? Maybe we'll never know. Did she traffic kids? Yeah, did she traffic kids to no one? Yeah. Yeah, she should be let out, I guess. Bill Gates' wife divorced him after he was hanging out with Epstein. She said Epstein was pure evil. But you know what? I think she left not for that reason. I think she left because she didn't want to get caught up in it. Because she wouldn't say anything about Bill. No statements or anything. So I think she just bailed out because she figured, oh, the heat's on. I better get out of here. I think she was just as guilty as Bill. Well, that's interesting, Liquid Gal and underage boys. Every time Trudeau came to BC, he went to Davie Street gay bars and bought rounds for the boys. Lynn, you think it's all been destroyed? It could have been. Maybe the FBI just washed it. cleaned it, bleached it. Trump barred Epstein from Key Largo. Yeah. Yeah. So Trudeau out hanging out there on Davie Street, that does not surprise me at all. He was at Katimavik, that picture with no shirts, the young boys, he's kind of leaning right over his back. It looks kind of weird. Not weird for Trudeau, but it looks kind of weird to a normal person. So, I heard somebody speculate Cash and Bongino could have been threatened to bury the case. There's so much speculation and rumors and stuff going around, you'll never know what's going on. So, we will, maybe in the future, who knows. Anyways, we're running over a little time here, but thanks so much for joining in. It's always great seeing you all here. And we'll get back and do it again next week. Yeah, it's been a blast. So you folks take care. Hope you all have a wonderful week. Might not hurt to try to stock up a little on a few things, you know. If you see something on sale in the grocery aisle or something, maybe buy 2 instead of 1 or more. Stack them in the shelf, especially something that takes very little preparation that you can eat, like a beef stew or chicken stew or something like that. Just a heads up, maybe it might come in handy. So bye for now. God bless. Don't take the path of least resistance. We gotta fight for our rights. Bye, y'all.